Well, for the ones that do build those beautiful resorts and give us these sports books, Brett, I do have another question for you then, because we're going to shift into some college basketball now. Why don't we have many lines on Sunday night, late Sunday night, for any Monday action already? We're still waiting out for some pretty enticing games.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, but my guess would be, however much the book takes in on a given day, that percentage is not big enough on some of these college basketball games to warrant these lines going out while they got other games going on and live spreads and all that to worry about.
Early November may not be rushing to the window to get those sports bets in. I don't know, but I'd be looking at that Butler Houston game. That looks like an interesting potential game to me, but I'm curious of what that line would be.
Yeah, it's going to be a big line, Higgins. This is not the same Butler team that you remember. So, look,
But how big? But how
it,
big? I'm okay with it being big, but how big? We talking 20s? We talking 25s?
yeah, I
30s?
don't, I don't know how big, but that'll be a pretty sizable spread. This is not the Butler Bulldog teams that you're familiar with.
That's very fair. That's very fair. What about you? What Monday games would be catching your eye?
Yeah, so look, there's some early tips, Higgins, which is always fun for me. Charlotte plays Toledo at noon. I expect Charlotte to be the favorite in this one, Higgins, but I will lay the points with Charlotte over Toledo. You know who Charlotte has on their roster, Higgins? Former
Who's that?
Syracuse forward Rob Braswell,
Oh,
playing well for the 49ers and Charlotte. So, look, I think they're the better team than Toledo. I think Coach Sanchez has done a good job there. And, yeah, we'll see how that game plays out. But Charlotte, I expect to be the favorite when we do get lines. And then another game I'm looking at, Higgins. Cornell is traveling to Penn State, and Cornell is going to be double-digit dogs here. But I don't think this is going to be a double-digit basketball game. I think Penn State with Micah Shrewsbury will be good, but they're not there this year, Higgins. This is year one. They're laying the foundation. They're figuring it out. So I think Penn State's a little bit away. Cornell's a top of the Ivy League program, so should be interesting. Should be a good matchup, but I expect Cornell to keep it pretty close there. And then St. Mary's Notre Dame is a late night game. Higgins, you should have your eye on it for me. I don't
okay, I
know.
will.
I don't know who's gonna open up as the favorite in this one. I would lean St. Mary's, as slight dogs. But not sure. They could open up as the favorite, Higgins slight favorite. But this one's gonna be close. This one will be an interesting game. And again, I'm leaning St. Mary's with no line. I'm maybe expecting to be like plus a point and a half, plus 2.5 Higgins. So like something within a one possession game. But I think it'll be a close one, and I might just take the slight dog either way.
Yeah, for those wondering why that Notre Dame St. Mary's game is going to be so late, it's because it's an opener of the Jim Maui tournament that's out in Las Vegas. So even though it's Notre Dame at home because it's St. Mary's at Notre Dame, it's not in South Bend, so it's going to be a little bit of a later game. And Brett, that Cornell game that you talked about, Cornell already has maybe a notable win by translation because they beat Colgate. And as you well know, and I well know, Colgate just got an impressive win over Syracuse, which kind of shocked us. That was a little shocker to us on Saturday, on top of the Syracuse Orange football loss.
Yeah, it was not a great Saturday to be an orange, but we'll bounce back, Higgins. We will bounce back.
Yes, the Syracuse Orange basketball team is going to be in the battle for Atlantis coming up this week. Starting off, they face off against VCU on Wednesday. Now, we don't have lines for that. What I do see lines for, though, is who's going to win the battle for Atlantis. And Brett, I was looking at the brackets, and I'm going to take a half unit shot at the board. Loyola Chicago plus 950. Now they start off facing off against Michigan State. That's a very tough task. Now, but if they can win that, they notably probably have another tough task against either Auburn or Connecticut. But if they can win that, they're probably playing Baylor, if not Syracuse. And so Loyola Chicago plus 950 half unit. This is a stacked invitational. I'm very excited to watch it. I think a lot of these games are going to be close. I think that's why we see, after Baylor being plus 150 at the top of the board, a lot of these are kind of close to each other, and it's anyone's guess who could get an upset and potentially go on a run here in November.
Yeah, Baylor probably rightfully so, the best team in this field. Auburn might be a little bit underrated. Higgins, they could be better than Connecticut when it's all said and done. Or Syracuse, or Michigan State. Michigan State's a team I do believe in, though, so I wouldn't say Auburn's going to be better than Michigan State. But Syracuse, UConn, Auburn, they're all about the same to me. So, look, there's a few teams I would say are ahead of Loyola Chicago, but I wouldn't call it the most impossible thing on the planet. Obviously, any of these teams could get hot over a weekend here, Higgins. And look, come out with some great wins that'll really help their resumes come March.
And with these being such competitive games, you never know who ends up on top, and you might end up facing off against an underdog, or you might face off against a really tired team that had to play a grueling game the day before. You never know. If you handle yours to open it up, it starts off a lot easier for you the rest of that stretch, obviously.